Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a story. Since it's about Halloween, it's going to be a ghost story. Now, last Halloween, I told you about shadow people I saw as a kid, and I know that video cost me some credibility. Some people thought I might be crazy. And I was going to tell another story about a house I lived in that was a little bit creepy, but something weird happened to me over the summer that I wanted to talk about. Since I found out what had been ailing me for the past 4 years and I could now walk further than 100 feet without passing out, I decided to make the most of every weekend that I had this year. I did odd jobs cleaning offices, I turned in scrap metal, I picked up pop cans and turned them in just for a little extra gas money so I could travel some places here in the state on those weekends. One weekend I went up north. I was at the Rainbow Lodge at the mouth of the Two-Hearted River. There's a lot of dirt roads and two tracks up there to get back into that area, and it's hard to find a campsite, so a lot of the time you just camp out in the woods wherever you can find. I found a spot, I built a fire, I had some beer with me, but it wasn't going down right. I drank like half a can and I just didn't want it. I was enjoying myself, just relaxing there. My wife was laughing, she was having a good time. My wife has a very distinct, beautiful laugh. It's not something anyone can replicate. After a while, she decided to go to bed. She was camped out in our expedition. We just had a bed in the back of there, and we were happy. My dogs were running around playing, but it was pitch black, so I would call them back every 10 minutes or so just to make sure they were still within range of me. I could hear coyotes off in the distance. There were birds chirping and rustling around off in the trees. I could hear my dogs playing down by the water, and everything seemed normal. But at one point when I called my dogs back, they didn't want to come any closer to me. They stopped by the firelight and they just paused there. My dog Butters seemed a bit disheveled. He just not right in the face. I walked over to him to see what was going on and he turned and ran from me. I heard this like crashing, rustling noise, and then I heard both of my dogs running really fast and they came up to me and everything seemed normal. But they wanted to get into the car, so I dried them off with a towel and into the car they went. I decided to try another beer, so I stoked up the fire, I cracked one open, and I sat back and enjoyed the firelight. Again, everything was kinda normal. But at one point, everything just went silent. It was pitch black, and I couldn't hear the coyotes anymore. I figured they caught whatever they were chasing. I didn't hear the birds rustling around, maybe they went to sleep. It was just dead silent. And I enjoyed that silence. It was kinda nice. It was eerie, but I was in my element. Although I was enjoying the silence so far away, yes, Butters. Even though I was enjoying the silence so far away from civilization, my tinnitus was getting the better of me. That's a loud ringing sound in my right ear that never goes away, so I decided to turn on some music. I went into the vehicle and I grabbed my little radio, which was next to my firearm. I instinctively inspected my firearm, left the firearm, and took my radio with me. I sat it down on the cooler, I put in a Manowar CD, and I sat there enjoying myself, thinking about whatever it is you think about while you're listening to Manowar, which is something along the lines of leading an army of the undead while riding a dragon, things like that. But I did not check to see if my wife was still in bed. That's where it gets weird. I smelled something. It didn't creep in, it was instantaneous, like right in my face. It smelled pungent, like old gear lube or something like that. It was nasty. I grabbed my lantern to look around and see what the smell was, but you know how lanterns work. They blind you just as much as they show you, so you see about the same. While I was doing that, I heard my wife laugh off in the tree line. Specifically. Not specifically as in her very beautiful, specific laugh. I mean, I remember the exact pattern from a joke I told about peeing on trees just a few hours earlier. It was exactly that laugh. And she was just far enough away I couldn't quite make her out, but she looked taller. I couldn't really tell what I was looking at. I said, "Hey, honey, I didn't see you get out of bed." And I talked to her a little bit, and it was just that laugh over again. And she moved sideways. She didn't like turn and walk. She was walking sideways, and it freaked me out. All of a sudden, I got this overwhelming sense of fear. I needed to go for my firearm. Like, I needed to do that immediately. I threw the lantern in her direction and I ran to the driver's door of my vehicle. The little dog Binks was on the seat, and I just sort of like flew over top of him, flung the door behind me, and I locked the doors. While I was scurrying for my firearm, I noticed that my wife was still in bed, and I didn't understand what was going on. So I grabbed it, and I decided not to get out of the car. I chose not to do it. Instead, I started the vehicle and I turned the car around and I pointed the headlights in the direction that I saw her, and all I saw was a couple of raccoons. I don't know what happened. I had one beer in me, but it was dead silent. I was listening to Manowar, which can fire you up a little bit, but I don't understand how two raccoons could laugh exactly like my wife did just a few hours earlier and look like her, wearing the same clothes, the same pink top with this drape, the white drape that she had over her with her bikini bottoms. It looked like that. I couldn't quite make it out. It was just on the edge of the firelight. I chalked it up to I'm a complete idiot, and I questioned whether or not I should be allowed near any loaded firearms. I put the thing away, and I climbed into the back and laid down with my wife. But I guess in my throwing the lantern and running away, I bumped my CD player, and the Hands of Doom song was playing on the Warriors of the World album on repeat. That got a little bit annoying. My wife woke up and asked me if I was just going to let that play all night. I said, yes, I'm not getting back out of this car. She didn't ask why. She didn't question anything. She accepted it and she just went back to sleep. But after a while, I was still awake and I decided to go back out there and see what was going on. So I grabbed my axe. I didn't take anything super dangerous and I exited the driver's door and walked back around the back of my vehicle. I looked around, I walked over to my radio, which was now 20 feet from me because I had turned the car around, and I shut it off. I could hear the birds, I could hear everything, it sounded normal again. I didn't smell anything anymore either. Whatever that smell was, it was just there for a little bit, and then it just disappeared. And it was a really strong smell, the kind of smell that saturates your clothing, like gear lube, and somehow it was just gone. Don't know where it went. I was a bit freaked out. I went back to my car, I climbed back into the vehicle, and I tried to go to sleep. Then I had to pee. I wasn't doing it again. I used a bottle, which really upset my wife, but you know what? I just wasn't getting back out of that car. I don't know what it was. I will be revisiting that place, though, since it's one of my favorite places to go. Whatever it was, I'm hoping it was just a freak anomaly that only happened one time and will never happen again. Hopefully, I'm just crazy. If not, there is something creepy in the woods up north.